Good morning, everyone. This is Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to welcome you to another contemplative sharing. Contemplations that we have used here in our holistic lifestyle and meditation experience that help to guide us and take us deeper into understanding the experience that we're generating from our meditation practice. So, developing a witnessing awareness opens the way to mastering life as a human being. Beyond our perceived individuality, there is more to us than meets the eye. As you develop presence through daily meditation, the realization that all is one emerges experientially. Ultimately, we are all present as one. So, in the beginning, as I went over this in my last video, by default, the negative contractive polarity is dominant when we are first come into this world because that's how we manifest ourselves within the human experience. And as such, we experience ourselves as an individual separate from all the objects external to our physical body. We are separate from the world we're living in that sense. And so when you hear this, the phrases like we are all one and there is only one blissful consciousness and so forth and so on, and that's who we really are, it seems contradictory because our experience is individualized and yet we're drawn to this or curious about this idea that we could all be unified as one single consciousness. And so it appears to be contradictory, but it really isn't. As we develop more and more focus in our meditation, we develop the opposite of the negative polarity. We start to accent and grow the positive polarity within our own experience. So while we are individuals, we are opening ourselves up to the reality that goes beyond individuality. It doesn't negate it. It's not contradictory to it. It's just simultaneous to it. So as we keep going through our meditations and as we go through our processes, wherein all of our beliefs that we are isolated individuals and that we're living alone, so to speak, surrounded by objects that are separate from us, as this data starts to clear its way and the experiences we have in meditation where we do experience breakthrough moments, where we experience that oneness, that information starts to grow within us. And as we do this, the beliefs that once dominated our experience because we're putting our power through those beliefs and creating our reality out of those beliefs, now our beliefs are shifting, not from more beliefs, but actually from experiencing the oneness that we are, going beyond our individuality, going into more subtle realms of ourselves. And as we do this and keep growing that, eventually we start to get a palpable, energetic experience that comes to us, and that is the oneness that we are. That is our higher dimensions or our most subtle dimensions, however you want to word it, but it is part of us. It's part of our being, and we experience that as a energetic presence. And that energetic presence isn't just some energy; it's also an intelligence. It's and brings with it the understanding with it that we are consciousness. Even though we're still having a human experience, there's more to us than that. And that's what we mean by presence. It's a opening up to and communication with other aspects of ourselves. Aspects that when you're limited to the human experience so that you are separate, seem like they're mystical, they seem like they're extraordinary, and they seem unbelievable. And so it's the way the human experience plays out, where some embrace it, some don't believe it, and some are scared of it. So as we live the holistic lifestyle and meditate, we keep growing that presence until it becomes a constant in our life. And when you have that constant experience of yourself as source, as a something that goes beyond manifest reality, especially as human being, then you are experiencing yourself as a blissful consciousness, really. And that's how you anchor yourself into the truth of who you are, and you have journeyed the journey of the human experience and mastered it, which is what this is what we mean by mastering the human experience, is that you have brought yourself into the human experience, but then you have managed to reconnect with who you were before you took this birth and before you started to experience the life you're having now. So, I mean, we all have that experience after we die, the body, but the object of meditation, the object of mastering life, is to have that experience before you die the body, so that you realize fully that all human beings, all life, is one source consciousness, and that it is all connected in that way. It's all unified, and yet simultaneous to that truth, there is a creation that where we're all individuals and human beings in our case, living usually a kind of a fear-based life. And so, but when you develop that presence, your fear is dissolved because you're opening up a communication highway that comes through your heart. And it's only when you can open up that communication that you can actually experience the realization of the truth of who you are, the one source, the one blissful consciousness that is all and everything, simultaneous to its creation game, the game of pretense. The pretending to be other than it is, consciousness creates manifest reality, because before manifest reality there was still consciousness. After manifest reality there will still be consciousness. When we die the body, we return to who we have always been and what we have always been. So it's a play, really, but within the human experience, of course, we don't take it as a play. It's not. It's oftentimes there's a lot of suffering or a lot of negativity, and we're contracted and we're not having a very good time as a human being. And so to call it a game or a play seems like that again, there's another apparent contradiction, yet ultimately it is not a contradiction. But it must be realized that for most human beings, and even when you are experiencing that presence, there can still be moments of anger and anxiety and worry and so forth that can come to you, because that's the human experience and it's going to be what it is. But it doesn't, shall we say, capture you. You realize it and you experience it as an emotion, as a thought, as another energy form that is passing. And so you, instead of reacting, you acknowledge, and then you just let it do its thing and let it go, and then you're free from it. It doesn't hold you. So, but you acknowledge that everything in manifest reality, our feelings, our thoughts, our fears, our delights, both polarities are the same source consciousness, and you acknowledge that consciously, irregardless of how your database, what you still retain, may associate with those negative experiences. The power of your own presence is going to nullify that as a dominant reality. And because it nullifies it as a dominant reality, you keep growing yourself out of the limitations that come with the human experience, and you can still retain your human experience, but you're also experiencing yourself as consciousness, as something way beyond and unified. So it's a beautiful experience. It's why people do adopt a lifestyle of being meditators and living a lifestyle that supports the growing experience of yourself as consciousness, irregardless of the challenges that come with it, irregardless of being, so we say, a monk or withdrawing from the normal activities in the world that you used to go to for your own happiness. You have discovered a new happiness, something far greater than anything you could ever get from the so-called external world, from the objective polarity of our experience, which is all that which is outside of ourself as we perceive ourselves. And you find more joy by going into yourself, because that's the positive polarity of your own being, and you have developed it and grown it and cultivated it to the point where now you're having the experience that comes with that growth and with that cultivation of the positive polarity within yourself. And so you're still a human being, and you still have your reactions. You're still being you. But within that, you're having a lot more joy in your life than you could ever imagine that you could have. And being yourself is not full of questions and doubts and anxiety. It's full of a very blissful, energetic experience. And this is what carries you through your day from moment to moment to moment. So mastering life, experiencing the oneness of life that is always present in life, is the mastery of the human experience. And again, there's no end to that. You can keep developing that until you reach a point where taking on a human form is not something that you would normally do unless you came here for a specific purpose to share that presence with others, which is what all the wisdom traditions and the masters that have come into this world to help people achieve that level of mastery themselves, because their very presence is the meditation. Their very presence is a demonstration of mastery, and at the same point, the energy that they emit because of their state of being is a meditation that entrains you to that same level of mastery. And so meditation, and so whether you are living with a master or whether you're living in an ashram somewhere, or whether you're just living here in the United States, let's say, working a job, living a normal life, if you meditate and you put your effort into it and you consistently keep your practice up, you're going to be going to the same place that all masters have been and are, and that is to a realization that you are much more than a human being. You're not. It doesn't negate being a human being. There's no judgment about being a human being. It's a manifestation that was created for a purpose, and it has a specific intention behind it. And as I was taught, that intention is simply to be fully what it is. Consciousness wants to fully be itself. And to fully be itself, it wants to experience itself. So it creates the relative reality in order to generate the possibility of having experience. Because without polarity, there's no experience. So in order to have polarity, we have to create this apparent contradiction is created, but it's also created with an intention that has much more power in it than anything in manifestation. It's the birth of manifestation, and that intention that it holds to fully be itself is always going to progress and achieve the ends that it wants to achieve. How that plays out with any of us, how that plays out with humanity at large, we don't know. Because it's a game that was created that can go on however it must go on to achieve that intention. And so when you meditate and you develop and hold a holistic lifestyle, which is meditation and watching your diet and your exercise and so forth, the things that keep your body healthy so that your body can sustain a more subtle experience which carries more power with it, and so that you can achieve that level without being so overwhelmed physically by that energy. That's the holistic lifestyle and the purpose behind it. When you adopt a lifestyle like that, you're well on your way to your own mastery, because you have come to some realization that this is what it's all about, and your devotion is born out of your own experience. It's not a belief. It's the joy that you have experienced by meditating and by living a holistic lifestyle that makes it so worthwhile to you. And when you have those values born of your own experience, it's where you want to go. And it's why mystics in the past, when they were crucified as heretics in the days of religious domination in our cultures on the planet, they still did what they did, even though there was the danger. They did it because they were overjoyed by the experience they were having. And as we know from observing ourselves, if you're truthful with yourself, anything that gives you a lot of joy is something that you're going to have a high value for. And that's just the way we are. We are blissful beings by our own nature, and even though it may be hidden from us in the moment, there's some part of us that knows that and tries its best to achieve that level of blissful being, even though it's not quite mastered it yet. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. It's a contemplation that we used here many years ago, but it still lives within me and all those who have practiced it. Because when you take these kinds of contemplations and you contemplate them, you're directing your mind to go beyond itself, essentially. And when you combine your meditative practice with that intention, your intention, and you're putting your power through that intention, well, there's just more growth, more oneness that's growing within you. That's why we use contemplations. They're very, very powerful in the context of meditation and holistic lifestyle, which is why I share them with you, because even if you're not meditating, even if you're just beginning to meditate, if I share my experience with you, the hope is that it might encourage you to continue on with your practice. Even though you may not be enjoying presence at this point in your practice, it will come as long as you maintain the intention to manifest that as your reality. Because it is the truth of who you are, and all you have to do is clear the way for that to open up, to reconnect with your heart and allow that communication to the more subtle dimensions of yourself to happen. Once that begins to happen, nothing can stop you. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I hope it's been of some usefulness to you. And if you're watching this video, I would also ask you to just go ahead and click the like button or something, just so that we get an idea of how many people are showing up for these little videos that I put out on Monday mornings. I would appreciate that very much, and I'm very honored to have anyone here listening to this presentation. So that's it for today. I'll be back again next Monday to share another contemplation with you.